Stevie J from AngryMarks.com here to discuss a slow descent into madness, otherwise known as UFC 149, a pay-per-view that was reverse booked with all of the good shit happening at the beginning and all of the boring shit happening at the end that most people actually paid for. If you watched the FX fights and stopped there, you had a great time. If you watched this whole thing, 5 hours worth, you're probably hating life as much as I am right now, but let's just get right down to it and talk about these fights. The opener on FX was Bryan Caraway versus Mitch Gagnon. This was okay. I have no complaints about this. It went 3 rounds, and all of a sudden, Caraway has a body lock, and he's hitting body shots to soften up his opponent. He sinks in the rear naked choke and gets the tap with 3:21 left. Buffer makes it official 139 of the third round for Kid Lightning. Unfortunately, he doesn't get a post-fight interview, but we do see his girlfriend Miesha Tate in his corner in the post-fight photo op. Then we get Ryan Jimmo blazing through Anthony Perosh. I mean, just destroying him. He landed a right hook. He was diving on the ground for a second shot, but Rosenthal was running over to make the save because the fight was already over, and if he had been closer, Jimmo would have the UFC record. Unfortunately, because he was out of position, the official time of the fight is 7 seconds, so he ties Todd Duffy for the fastest knockout in UFC history. Next up was a bonus bout that aired earlier on Facebook, Antonio Cavallo and Daniel Pineda, and this was not a long fight either because Cavallo absolutely rocked Pineda. He was on rubber legs and was trying to stand up, but it was over at that point when Yamasaki made the save. Cavallo wins at 111 of the first round. Then Roland Delorme and Francisco Rivera had a fight that was over quick. Rivera was doing better on striking. He was up 29-9 at one point in significant strikes. Then with 40 seconds left to go, he dropped him with a shot, and the referee dived in to make the save. The official time was 4:19 of the first round, and Rogan said it was a dream performance for Francisco Rivera. He did not argue. Anton Kuivanen got a split decision over Mitch Clarke, 2:29-28 and 1:28-29. I strongly suspect they only showed this fight because there were so many early finishes on the FX portion of the card, or they probably would not have bonused it. It's really not a fight to write home about. Then, in the main event on FX, Court McGee and Nick Ring went the full 15 minutes, and this is where things might have started to go awry. I mean, this fight was okay. I thought it was pretty good. Felt like McGee might have done enough with the striking to get the win. It went back and forth. I thought McGee took the first round. I thought Ring took the second. The third round I thought was strongly in McGee's favor, almost a 10-8 because he was just wailing on him. But apparently the judges felt that Ring won the first 2 rounds and McGee only won the third because it ended up being 29-28 unanimous decision. And hey, I won't argue. I think Nick Ring did a pretty good job in those first 2 rounds. And the round I thought was McGee's probably was Ring's because it was that close. So not a robbery or anything, but this was the first of many decisions to come. The only thing that saved us from getting all decisions on the main pay-per-view portion of the card was Matt Riddle and Chris Clements. This one ended at 2:02 of the third round when the two guys got into a clinch against the fence, and Riddle got a takedown at 90 seconds. Clements got back up, but Riddle grabbed him with the right arm when he swung around and dragged him to the ground and had the arm on when he got to the ground, so he was able to get the arm triangle choke. So Matt Riddle cut a super charismatic interview afterwards. He loved everybody. He loved UFC. He loved Calgary. He loved Joe Rogan. And this was probably the highlight of the pay-per-view. I hate to say it, but it was just all downhill from here. Ryan Ebersole and James Head. This was a case of unorthodox striking, and if you like that, then Ebersole's fun to watch. But the problem is, Ebersole was using his wacky striking just to set up takedowns, and he wasn't getting them. And he kept going for them over and over again with no success, and it just annoyed the living shit out of me. I was so ready for this fight to be done. I was done with his hero. I was done with him. I was done with listening to the commentary. I was done with life at this point. I just wanted this fight to be over and done with. Stop going for takedowns if they're not working, you stupid fuck. Just quit. Try something else. He lost the decision here. 29-28 Head times 2 and 29-28 for Ebersole. I'm not even sure if the right man won, but I know that the right man didn't win because I didn't want to see Ebersole again after this. And then Cheick Kongo and Shawn Jordan didn't really improve matters because Jordan repeated the same mistakes as Ebersole. He had one strategy, which was to put Kongo in the fence and try to get him down, and it didn't work. The most exciting thing that happened during this entire fight, Kongo was stuck on him and Jordan was trying to get away. He hit a reverse elbow to the nuts that dropped Kongo to his knees. That's saying something when the most exciting part of a fight was a low blow. Kongo got a unanimous decision here, 30-27 times 2 and 30-28. So one of those judges correctly scored this a 10-10 round for absolutely nothing happening. Then to make matters worse, Hector Lombard made his UFC debut against Tim the Barbarian Bosch, and he too had the strategy of doing the same thing over and over again and not succeeding at it, because he'd go for takedowns repeatedly. He couldn't get Bosch down. Bosch would outpoint him, but not by very much, and they would just feel each other's range out. The crowd was vociferously booing by this point because this was the third straight fight going to a decision, and Lombard had all this hype coming into the pay-per-view, and Lombard absolutely failed to deliver. And then it went to the absolute drizzling shits main event where Renan Barão outpointed Uriah Faber for 30 minutes, 25 plus the interludes. It was just one round after another of Barão dominating the fight and not letting Faber get anything in, and Faber would try to get these takedowns, and guess what? Guys tried to get takedowns and failed at getting them. It was the same story over and over again for this entire miserable fucking pay-per-view. Go watch the FX fights, and if you got this pay-per-view on your DVR, delete that shit and only watch FX. Don't buy the DVD, don't buy the replay, I'm done.